Morning. So last class we were discussing about the consumer behavior and related aspects. So just we'll have a quick recap. So we discussed about consumer behavior, some definitions about consumer behavior, nature of consumer behavior, importance of studying consumer behavior, and consumer decision making process. And these are very important, like the influencing. What are the internal influences on consumer behavior? We talked about, we were supposed to talk about personality, uh, motivation, experience. So the major external influence, of course, we discussed about the family, the influence of the family, uh, then the culture, so influence of advertising. So now, why we need to study the consumer behavior? See, with the previous discussion that we already had, we have a fair idea about why we need to discuss consumer behavior or why we need to study consumer behavior. Interaction behavior is the interaction with the surrounding ambience inherent in living creature and mediated by their external and internal activeness. Thus, consumer behavior is the action of consumer in the marketplace. See, in the consumer behavior, consumer is at the center of focus of the activity. Because as I told you in the previous class, without the consumer, the whatever the product and services that are being offered, it becomes waste. So consumer behavior plays a very important role. Understanding, see, consumer behavior means why a consumer behaves in certain way and what causes that behavior and how the marketer can understand those behavior and how to offer product and services according to the needs of the consumer. So consumer behavior is the action of the consumer in the marketplace and underlying motives for those actions. See, the very core of the buying behavior of the consumer, he should have a motive. See, in economics, what we say is all about the need satisfying capacity. See, different consumers have different motives at different given point of time. So the motives of the customer may also vary from customer to customer. So one customer may have a different motive, another customer may have a different motive. So we cannot say that the motives of all the consumers are the same. So marketers expected that by understanding what causes consumer to buy a particular goods and services. So of course, different consumers have different needs with respect to the same product. Say for example, let us take the example of shampoo. For example, some people like shampoo for dry hair, some people like shampoo for oily hair, some consumer like shampoo for normal, some customer like it for what do you say, conditioner and shampoo combination. So the customer motives are different. So consumer by particular goods and services, they will be able to determine which products are needed in the marketplace. So by understanding, and again I can take the example of see, today there is a lot of uh, uh, movement which is going on that all these commercial products, say all these products like toothpaste, soaps, and all they contain a lot of chemicals and other things. So now some consumer want an Ayurvedic toothpaste or an Ayurvedic soap, something like this. And some people they prefer an ordinary type. So today, if you take, for example, the toothpaste, for example, we have toothpaste with salt, with neem, Ayurvedic toothpaste, so many different varieties that we have. So why these varieties are being offered to the consumer is the real question because different customers have different needs with respect to the product and services. So they will be able to determine which product are needed in the market and which place and which are obsolete and how best to present these goods to the consumer. And one more thing which plays a very important role is the perception. See, if I have to define perception, see what we see through, perception is basically what we experience through our five senses, like the smell, the product, our, through the five senses, whatever we experience. So perception plays a very important role. So perception, studying consumer behavior helps the marketer to understand the consumer perception about a particular product, because for the same product, different customers may have different perception towards the product. So some may feel the product is good, but the price is very high. Some may feel price is okay, but the quality is not good. So perception varies from one customer. So that is why these psychological phenomena. See, when we talk about consumer behavior, it is totally a psychological phenomenon. So we cannot have a generalized answer saying that this is what the customer expects, because when we talk about the psychological aspect of the consumer behavior, it tends to vary from one individual to another individual. Uncovering and correcting erroneous perception about a particular product may give marketer an additional competitive edge over the additional competitive advantage over the competitor. See, when a customer sees a product initially, say for example, a new product is launched into the market, customer initially may not believe that the product is good, because the customer has a perception that a new product may not meet his or her expectation. So at that time, it becomes really difficult. Say for example, in the telecom, in the mobile handset market. See, before Nokia was dominating the market, so every next person who had a cell phone had a Nokia phone. So customer believed that if there is a cell phone, that has to be from Nokia. So later, when Samsung launched their product, when Sony launched their product, when so many different Oppo and all these companies, they came out with a handset. See, initially the customers were reluctant to buy because of various factors. They are manufactured in a different country. They may not meet the expectation. So many mental barriers were there with respect to those products. So later, what happened? The customer, once they started using the product over a period of time, so they started to accept the product. See, that is why the customer accepting the product and the services becomes very important. See, it is not necessarily that if I offer something at a very reasonable price, the customers are going to buy. No. So today, the customers are the main focus with respect to the product or the services. So it is the duty of the manufacturer or the producer of the good to really pay attention to the psychological aspect of the customer. So next, of course, we have attitude, consumer attitude, very often determining consumer beliefs about certain products. See, when if we have to define attitude in a very simple word, see, attitude is either favorableness or unfavorableness. See, I prefer Samsung over Sony. So that means I have favorable attitude towards Samsung. I don't have favorable attitude towards Sony. So again, these are influenced by various factors, like his personal opinion, opinion of the family. So these attitudes are formed to the individual in a different manner. So that is why this plays a very important role. So studying the consumer attitude, discovering consumer attitude allows the marketer in tune with their campaigning to resonate with a particular consumer niche and deepen marketing research. See, when we take up the mobile market into consideration, so we have handset that is priced at 3,000 rupees. I'm talking about smartphone. We have even Apple phones which are available at 1 or 2 lakh rupees also. See, 1 or 2 lakh rupees phone is not targeted at the middle class group, but they are targeted at the higher end group. In the same way, the 3,000 rupees handset, they are basically targeted at lower income group or the middle income group, something like this. And even, for example, Alto car. See, that is an entry level car for the middle class group, especially in a country like India, where the middle class group constitute the majority. And Mercedes-Benz is not targeted at the middle class, so they are targeted. So this market niche, so the attitude plays a very important role. So at what attitude level the customer is. See, of course, that attitude is also determined by various other factors. So these are the factors which plays a very important role when we talk about customers. So next one is culture. See, as I told you in the previous class, culture is the values, the assumption, the belief the consumer has obtained over a period of time. So culture varies from different countries to country, from one region to another region. So cultures are basically the values, the assumption, and the belief. So cultural belief is something which is very difficult to change. So the marketer need to adopt to those cultural needs. So likewise, other day I gave you an example of McDonald's. See, McDonald's when they came to India, the only condition uh, the government had a major restriction was they are not supposed to sell beef burgers. Because in India, cow is a very sacred animal and we worship cow. So they are not supposed to sell beef burgers in Indian market. And again, the McDonald's or the other similar companies, they try to customize their product. See, in India, we like our food to be very spicy, our food to have various spices, our food to have different varieties. Any food industry that is entering into the Indian market, especially the global food chains like the McDonald's, the Subways, and other companies, so they need to come out with the Indianized version, and also similarly other products. So this culture plays a very important role. See, if some product or the services, if it goes against the cultural belief of the customer, so I think those product and services definitely will not survive the test in the market. So it is very important. See, the culture is a very, 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 very important factor. So likewise, in America, selling a beef burger is not restricted because it is culturally accepted. So likewise, these cultures are very deeply rooted beliefs that an individual has. These things plays a very important role. And with respect to color also, see color and culture also. See in India, yellow is considered very auspicious, black is considered not so auspicious. In some other country, black is considered as auspicious. So likewise, there are a lot of cultural barriers or cultural diversification, we can say, affect the way marketing campaign is done. Then the lifestyle, the consumer lifestyle also determine what product appeal to certain customers. So of course, the customer's lifestyle, like in rural, the lifestyle is totally different. In semi-urban, it is different. In urban, it is different. It is in metropolitan cities, it is different. So the experience, the customer, like customer attitude, experience also covers consumer response to the certain product. So mainly when we talk about the consumer behavior, when we say behavior, see behavior is mainly considered of the psychological factors. So that is why we say mind over body. So mind rules the entire body. So this consumer behavior is a psychological process, and to understand the psychological process is a very complex phenomenon and a very challenging phenomenon. So that is why the customers, the industry need to do a lot of homework with respect to understanding the psychology of the customer. So that is why the study of consumer behavior or the subject consumer behavior becomes very important. So consumer behavior involves the psychological process that consumer go through recognizing needs, finding ways to solve their needs, and making such purchases. So basically, it is. the need is there on the one end, and the supply is there on the other end, and also the entire market situation is based on the demand and supply concept. And again, refining to that, understanding the customer behavior is also very important. So culture we have already discussed. Essentially, culture is a share of each company and its major cause of person who wants culture and behavior. Influence of culture on purchasing behavior varies from one country to another country. Of course, as I told you, the Indian culture is totally different. The American culture is totally different. The Japanese culture is totally different. So, culture is something which has developed from a very long time, and it is very difficult to change the cultural aspect of. And again, within culture, we have subculture. Each culture has different subcultures, such as religion, nationalities, geographical region, and of course, racial. See, the best example is India. So India is considered unity in diversity. So we have different languages, different dialect, different food habits, different consumption habit, different. So uh, the subculture also plays a very important role. See, in Mysore region, it is different. In Bangalore region, it is different. If you go to North Karnataka, it is. So we can say that every 100 kilometers the culture varies. So in a country like India, where there is such huge cultural diversity, it is very challenging for the uh, companies, and of course it is also an opportunity. We say where there is a challenge, there is also an opportunity. So these challenges and opportunities have to be capitalized in a very sensible manner to gain competitive advantage. Of course, the social class, every society has some kind of social class, which is important for marketing because buying behavior of the people in a particular social class is similar. Uh, See, that is why this market segmentation is there based on income. See, social class, we basically talk about the different sections of the society. See, we have marginally uh, excluded society. We have people working in organized sector. We have people working in unorganized sector. So this social class is based on various other things. So it is very important that the social class is also taken into consideration because the needs vary. The needs of the different social class is totally different. So, uh, social factors also influence purchasing behavior of the consumer. Social factors are reference groups, family, and the role and the status. So, reference groups have a potential for the formation of attitude and behavior. Person who influences other by his skills, knowledge, and other characteristics. See, reference group basically I can say some sort of an opinion leaders. See, today with a lot of technological advancement, so today before buying a product, we take the review of those products. Why do we do a review? Is basically to know how well the product is accepted by the customer. So if the acceptance rate is good, so we go for the product. If the acceptance rate is not good, so we know we don't go for the product. So these reference group have a major influence. Also, we have products endorsed by the celebrities. See, these celebrities are why they are used in advertising campaigning. So because they are able to influence large masses of people. Say for example, our film actors, whether it's a regional or national sports people. So they also have a very major influence on influencing the society. So that is why all these products are endorsed by these personalities. The reason being that they can influence a large section of people, and they have that charisma. So that charisma means that influencing capacity. For example, Sachin advertising for Boost. So most of the youngsters they get what do we say? They get attracted to those kind of advertising. So family, which we have discussed, that is influence of the family. that is the wife, the children, the husband. If this decision of purchase particular product is influenced by wife of the buyer, then the seller will try to target women. So household products, the major decision is made by the women in the house. So they have a very important, especially kitchen appliances. Like it might be a mixer, it might be a refrigerator, it might be a cooker, it might be a washing machine. So here the role of the woman or the wife in a particular house, so they have a very important say in the buying decision. So the marketers try to, what do we say, try to attract them and try to influence them for the product. So next one is role and status. Each person has different role and status in the society in terms of group, club, family, organization to which, for example, a woman working in an organization as a manager of finance, now she's playing two roles. One is, see, today we know it is most of the women employees, most of the women, they are also in the work group. So they have a different role to play as a family member, as a member of an organization, as a member of the society, as a member of their own group. So they also have a different role to play. So therefore, purchasing decision will be influenced by their role and status. See, that is why this Maslow's need hierarchy theory comes into picture. Say, a woman who is in the esteem needs, so their level of thinking to buy a product is totally different than otherwise an individual at the physiological level. So all these things influence a lot. Personal factors may also influence consumer behavior. Some of the important influence of behavior include lifestyle, economic status, all this age, especially age, the diversity in age. It is obvious that the customer change the purchase of goods and services over time. Family life cycle consists of different stages: young, single, married, couples, unmarried, etc. See, the age factor plays a very important role with respect to the college going students. The target is totally different. For working people, it is totally different. For married or the house old people, it is totally different. So occupation, which is, for example, marketing manager in an organization. So these are very important. So economic situation. So economic situation of consumer has a greater influence in their buying behavior. If the income saving of a consumer, see, that is why this the concept of national income is taken into consideration. So the income level. The next one is lifestyle, personality, which I'll be discussing in detail in the future class. Of course, the motivation. So the level of motivation also affects purchasing behavior of the customer. See, motivation is an inner energy to want something. So as we told, there should be some motive behind. So as a person, again taking the example of Maslow's need hierarchy theory, a person who is at the physiological level, his needs are totally different. Person who is in the safety zone, his needs are different. Esteem needs is totally different. So, according to the hierarchy of this Maslow's need hierarchy theory, the motivation level of an individual also varies. So, if a person's physiological needs itself is not satisfied, so then thinking of esteem needs is totally meaningless. So that is why these again plays a very important role: perception, belief, and attitude, which we have uh, discussed uh, in detail. So now another important thing here to study is consumer behavior model. See, models are a unique set of beliefs. See, different models have different beliefs that the consumer behavior is caused by a certain factor. So we have this behavioral model based on various things, one on income, one on various other aspects. So when studying about the consumer behavior, so what is important? The important model is economic model. See what the economic model says. Economic model of consumer behavior focus on the idea that customer buying pattern is based on the idea of getting the most benefit while maximizing the cost. See here the theory of economics comes into picture. See, generally, what we can say is that the economic model, so getting the most benefit with a minimum cost. See, that is a general tendency of the customer. So they want the most benefit with less expenditure or the less cost. Thus, one can predict consumer behavior based on the economic indicators such as consumer purchasing power. See, the purchasing power plays a very important role. So, what determines the purchasing power of an individual is again the income level of the consumer. So, that is why the marketers have different product ranges. So, we say different product range. See, what we say about the different product range is products available at different prices. So any customer whose income level is high, they can go for a higher price product. Income level is low, he can go for a lesser priced one. So here one can predict consumer behavior based on the economic indicators such as consumer purchasing power. So this purchasing power plays a very important role. So that is why the segmentation based on the income plays a very important role, because we cannot offer one product for all the customer ranges. No, that is not possible. So why it is not possible? Because the income level. See, again, I gave you the example of automobile sector. See, Alto car is meant for an entry level customer. So that is middle class or lower middle class, we can say. But again, if we go for SUV cars and other higher ranges, so they are targeted at rich and other class. So again, we have Audi, Mercedes. They are targeted at a different income group. So the purchasing power. For instance, a consumer will buy a similar product that is being offered at a lower price to maximize the benefit. That is point number one. And increase in customer purchasing power will allow him to increase the quantity of the product he is purchasing. So here, the purchasing power, the lower the purchasing power, the lower the consumption. The higher the purchasing power, the higher the consumption. So this is a very pretty common observation which we make through various economic models and other things. So this is about economic model. So one thing you have to keep in mind is getting the most benefit while with the minimum cost. So next is based on the learning model. This model is based on the idea that consumer behavior is bound by the need to satisfy basic and learned needs. See, basic needs include food, clothing, shelter, while learned needs include fear and greed. Thus, a consumer will have a tendency to buy things that will satisfy their needs and provide uh, satisfaction. See, learning plays a very important role in the customer mindset. That customer behavior is bound by the need to satisfy the basic and learned needs. See, it's a common sense that see, that is why this Maslow's need hierarchy theory is uh, very widely accepted theory, because he classifies the motivation of each customer at different level of hierarchy. See, for example, if customer who is striving for his livelihood, he is more focused on satisfying his what do we say, his physiological needs. Then once his status increases, so then he may focus on the safety needs. So likewise, these are learned through experiences and taught by the previous generation. While a learned need include fear and guilt, thus a consumer will have a tendency to buy things that will satisfy their need and provide satisfaction. A hungry customer may pass upon buying a nice piece of jewelry to buy some food. See, what is the motive right now? See, when you are hungry, the immediate motive is to satisfy your hunger. That is uh, very important need to be addressed. So rather than focusing on some other need. So here, but later he may go back and purchase the jewelry once or her hunger is satisfied. So this is purely a learned behavior. So what he has learned from his own experiences, what he has learned through various other experiences. So these comes into picture. So that is why this learning is in future classes we'll be discussing about the learning theories, the classical conditioning theory and other theories with respect to the learning. So these the learned behavior also plays a very important role in consumer behavior. See, now we talk about the psycho analytic model. See, this model is given by Sigmund Freud. He's a famous psychologist who has proposed this theory of psychoanalytical theory. Takes into consideration that the fact that the customer behavior is influenced by both conscious and subconscious mind. See, again, this conscious and subconscious mind is a very huge topic of discussion. But to put it in a nutshell, the conscious mind is what we experience this world through our five senses. So that is conscious. The subconscious is those activity which are happening within the body without our understanding of it. See, without our knowing. See, that is why this conscious and subconscious have an interlink. See, the subconscious mind is like a recorder. See, whatever we feed through our conscious mind, the subconscious mind will accept those kind of things. So that is why this psychoanalytical theory basically it focuses on the conscious and the subconscious mind. So again, this Sigmund Freud has used the example of an iceberg principle. See, what is this iceberg principle says that only the human behavior, the conscious part of the human being is only the tip of the iceberg, but majority of his psychological aspect is there in his subconscious mind. So this classification also plays a very important role in understanding the consumer needs. So they both conscious and subconscious mind. The three level of conscious discussed by Sigmund Freud is ego and superego. See, id basically is see it is see id is based on uh, the pleasure principle. So this classification of Sigmund Freud theory basically talks about the ego and the superego. So it is that part of the consciousness which is based on the pleasure principle. So whatever gives pleasure, so it works on the pleasure principle. So ego works on the reality. See, an hungry man cannot imagine food and fill his stomach. So in reality, he has to have food and satisfy his hunger. So if this based on the pleasure, ego is based on the reality, and superego is what we can say it is judgmental. Judgmental about what? What is right and what is wrong, which has been taught to that individual right from his childhood. So this id, ego, and superego. So you can keep it as id as based on pleasure, ego based on reality, superego based on the norms, what is right, what is wrong, accepted, unaccepted behavior, all these things, all work to influence one's buying decision and behavior. A hidden symbol in a company's name or a logo may have an effect on a person's subconscious mind and may influence him to buy that product. See, again, here we need to understand. See, these advertisements. why they are repeatedly telecasted, and especially during the uh, major events like an India-Pakistan cricket match or some very good shows. Uh, why the advertisers charge more? Because the viewers are more. See, if an advertisement is repeatedly uh, telecasted during those periods, one thing you need to understand here is that these advertisements have an impact on the subconscious level of the customer. See, knowingly or unknowingly, if you see the advertisement, you experience something through your five senses. Whether you are consciously listening or not, your mind records it subconsciously. So that is why subconscious mind is sometimes referred as a tape recorder. So that is why uh, these advertisements they are repeatedly telecasted and repeatedly told about a particular product and services is basically to influence the subconscious mind of the customer. So once the subconscious mind is influenced, what happens? A customer will buy those product and services because it is there in their subconscious level mind and may influence to buy the product instead of similar product from another company. So this ego and superego, or what do we call it as the psychoanalytical model, is a very important thing. So one highlighting feature is that to influence the customers on their subconscious level. So once you can influence the customers on their subconscious level, say for example, Tata product. See, of course, Tata is a very good company and an Indian company. See, they have this advertising campaign, Tata Namak, Desh Ka Namak. So that means they have that cultural, emotional appeal towards the customer. So of course, when it has an emotional appeal, that has a lasting impact on the customer. So next one is the sociological model. So the sociological model primarily considers the idea that the consumer buying pattern is based on his or her role and influence in the society. Consumer behavior may also be influenced by the people she associates with and the culture that her society exhibits. See, the sociological or the sociology, uh, how people live in group, how people live individually, how culture influences. So all these are the example of the study of the sociology. See, this sociological model main focus is by how an individual, how consumer behavior may also be influenced by people we associate with and the culture that our society exhibits. So in India, that cultural influence, see, every other country, but I am taking the particularly example of India. So the cultural influence on the buying behavior is very important. For instance, a manager and an employee may have different buying behavior given their respective roles in the company they work for. But if they live in the same community or attend the same church, they may buy products from the same company or a brand. See, this cultural influence has a tremendous impact on the people's mind. So this cultural angle also need to be studied. Cultural and religious aspect. In India, especially, we have different festivals. We have different distinct festivals throughout the season. So different festival needs different kinds of product and different kind of this thing. So the marketer has to keep all these things in mind and influence the buying behavior of the consumer because culturally diverse country we may have different what do we say products and services that has to be offered. So now we move on to the contemporary model. Engel, Collette, Blackwell model. So this model um, is a important model. See, this model speaks about the different dimension. One is inputs, information processing, decision process, decision variable, and the external factors. See, for this model to be explained, one thing very important is the inputs. So, what are these inputs? Inputs are the stimuli. See, stimuli, when we say stimuli, is something which elicits behavior. See, when we are hungry, the food is the stimuli. If we are tired, sleep is the stimuli. So, likewise, uh, this model talks about the stimulus from the market. So, how do we get the stimulus? See, basically, how do we get to know about a particular product or a service is through ads in the TV. So, once we see, say for example, we have seen a new product. So, the customer is very curious to know more about that particular product. So stimulus from the marketers. So stimulus means anything that elicits a behavioral change within a customer. So without stimulus, see, that is why this learning theory model, especially even Pavlov experiment, it is completely based on the stimulus and response model, or else it is known as the SR model. See, if there is no stimulus, there is no response. So stimulus is a very important, what do we say, ingredient in this process. So the stimulus has to create a response. So then only it is useful. So if there is no stimulus, obviously there will be no response. So stimulus from the marketers, that is ads in the TV. Of course, if you see an advertisement, if you have seen it over a period of time, that may not create much of a curiosity in the mind. But if you see a particular product for the first time, so what happens is the brain receives the stimulus. So once the stimulus is received, what happens is that the information processing, it goes to the information processing, what it may be, what is this product may be, how much price it may be. See, that is why most of the marketers they don't disclose the price initially, just to create that curiosity within the minds of the customer. So once we receive the stimulus, as I told you, stimulus is anything that elicits a behavior. So here in this case, it is the mm, advertisement in the TV, radio, or internet, something like this. So next, after receiving the stimulus, what do? We process the information from different angle. What this might be, what that might be. Like this, uh, we have information processing. So after processing the information, what do? Then we make the decision. After a decision process, sorry, we don't make decision. So we are in the process of the decision making. Then decision variables. See, decision process uh, and decision variables. So if I have to take that particular decision, what are the different variables I need to consider? Whether it is within my beliefs, whether it is within my attitudes, whether it's satisfying my motives. So all these things have to be, and of course the external model. So this Engel Colette Blackwell model completely speaks about how a particular customer buying behavior is influenced. So here it is pretty simple. We receive the inputs through advertising, TV, or anything about a product or a services. Then information processing is done. We do a processing of information. Then the decision process, the process of decision. We try to get information from various sources, decision variables that is there in the slide, beliefs, motive, attitude, lifestyle, all these things, and external factors. So all those things have to be considered. So now we'll see in detail what it mm, signifies. the information input stage or stimulus. Input means the stimulus. Information input stage. Consumer gets information from radio, magazines, internet, and word of mouth regarding the price or value of a product and the brand and identity of a company. See, of course, especially today in a digital world, uh, most of the things, most of the inputs or the stimulus we receive at a fingertip. See, every day we open our Facebook, Twitter, that these various internet sites. So everywhere we are bombarded with these kind of stimulus or the inputs. So where do we get the information? From radio, from magazines, the internet, word of mouth, uh, value of the brand, and the identity of the company. So we receive input through these sources. So now what happens in an information processing stage? So this is very important because once we receive the inputs and if we don't do anything about it, the next step is meaningless. So processing stage, what happens is that after discovering a product or a services, a consumer begins to think about how the product or services relates to their past experience or needs and whether it will fulfill any current need. See, every day we come across so many advertisements. Say, for example, if you come across 30 advertisements, we are not curious about all the 30. Maybe we may be curious about 5 or 10 stimulus. See, out of those 5 or 10 stimulus, uh, what we observe is uh, whether that is there in my past experience, point number one, or needs and whether it fulfills my current needs. See, if there is a gap uh, uh, between my needs and my desire, if there is a product in that category, so definitely that will elicit a behavior within me. So in information processing, three things to be kept in mind: the past experience, point number one, the needs and whether it will fulfill any current needs. So if if it doesn't have the need satisfying capacity. So then those advertisements uh, doesn't get into the further processing. So next one is the decision process stage. So after receiving the inputs or the stimuli, next we process the information. So then we have the decision process stage. Five basic decision process stages is the problem recognition, search for alternative. See, problem recognition is the first this thing of the decision making stage. Now, next one is search for alternative. See, of course, when we see a particular product or a particular services, we don't just go and buy those products. So we see what are the alternatives. Say you want to buy a mobile phone, so we try to compare the price or the features and different things about the product with the other product or similar product, two or three products. So then we try to find out what is lacking in this, what is lacking in that. We try to compare the price and all other things. So one is search for alternative evaluation. See, once we are presented with 4 or 5 alternatives, so we don't just accept them all. So we try to what do we do? Process select the alternative. So we do an evaluation of whether alternative A is good, B is good, C is good. So we try to do an evaluation. So after doing the evaluation, what do? We purchase and the outcome. See, outcome may be positive or negative. Where it may satisfy the customer needs or it may not satisfy the customer. So that is the decision making stage. Um, See, again in the previous slide, we discussed about the decision process. We discussed. So what are the decisions variables? See, in order to arrive at a decision, certain variables have to be kept in mind. So one is motive. See, of course, whether there is a need for that product or not. First, I need to make sure before I buy the product. It is not kind of an impulsive buying. Just because it is offered at lower price. Say I already have two or three phones. Just because some phone is offered at a very cheap, it may not satisfy my motive. So one is that whether it satisfies my motive or not, first I need to understand my motive. So whether there is a need for that product or not. Next, of course, the money. So the price sensitivity. So the customers are very price sensitive, uh, and we also study the same thing in economics. The price elasticity of demand and income elasticity of demand. So a small change in price leads to a series of change in this one demand or supply. So higher the price, lower the demand, lower the price, higher the demand. So all things are this one. See, that is why in all these Amazon and other uh, e-commerce websites, they offer huge discount for a limited period of time. Why do they do that? Just to attract more and more customers. They may put an offer for half a day or just 2 or 3 hours, happy hour, something like this. So one is whether there is a motive. Second one, whether it satisfies my financial needs, whether it is well within my budget. Second one is knowledge, value, whether that fits into my values or not. Next one is lifestyle, whether it suits my current lifestyle or what it is. Especially this lifestyle, and next one is personality. The next one is uh, the external factors, social influences are culture. Of course, those things that we discussed previously in this model, you can see the decision variables, belief, attitude, and all the lifestyle and all these things. So now we have external factors, the cultural norms, the social class, the reference group, family. And see, before arriving at a decision, we also try to consider the decision variables and also the external factor. So social influences are cultural, the reference group. Uh, Next is the family situation, such as consumers' financial condition, also influence the decision. So this is about this particular model, Engel, Pollard, Blackwell model. Stimulation from the market. So inputs we receive, we do an information processing. So decision processing based on various variables. So then we have decision variables. So what are the variables that needs to be considered when we do this one? And what are the external factors that has to be taken into consideration? So next model we have is Nicosia model. So this is also one of the widely studied model in consumer behavior. So was developed in 1966 by Professor Frank Roscoe M. Nicosia, an expert in consumer motivation and behavior. So this model focuses on relationship between firm and its potential consumer. The model suggests that the message from the firm advertisement is the first influences the predisposition of the customer towards the product or services. So here the underlying thing that is very important is message from the firm's advertisement. So that is why these advertisements are given mm, such a importance. That is why these advertisements have an tremendous influence on the buying behavior of the consumer. See, basically, we need to understand how do we get information. It's only through the advertising. See, only the technology has changed. The way we advertise may have changed, but advertisement as a, what do we say, as a medium to reach the huge masses has still remained the same. So, advertisement first influences the predisposition of the consumer towards the product or service. So, how do we get the information? It's only through advertisement. through radio, through newspaper, through electronic media, through television, all these things. Based on the situation, the consumer will have certain attitude towards the product. See, again, I told you, attitude say, may be favorable or unfavorable. See, that is why all these companies, they try to make their advertising more appealing. So why do they want to make it more appealing? Is because the first impression is the best impression. See, the whole thing boils down there. See, if the advertisement does not, say for example, the Fevicol advertisement, so they always come up with something innovative and unique way of advertising, keeping the cultural background into picture. See, that is why it is create creativity in advertising is very important. So if there is no much creativity, it may not attract the customer. So that is why the first influences the predisposition of the consumer towards the product or the services. So if the advertisement is, if we say, uh, if the advertisement is very attractive enough, so it may catch the attention of the customer immediately. So based on the situation, the consumer will have certain attitude towards the product, either favorable attitude or he may have unfavorable attitude. So that is one thing. The customer will have certain attitude towards the product. This may result in search for the product or evaluation of the product attribute by the customer. See, it all is important on what kind of attitude is being created. One is whether the product is able to create a positive impact on the minds of the customer. So once that is rightly done, so I think the next the customer will search for the product and evaluation of the product attributes is being done. So when I say the fields, see here field one, field two, uh, field two. What are the field three? Field four. So here we have different fields. So now I'm going to discuss about what we have in different fields and according to Nicosia model, what does each field represent and how they influence the customer buying behavior. Okay. So this is about, so field one, the firm's attribute and the consumer's attribute. So here the first field is divided into two subfields. The first subfield deals with the firm's marketing environment and communication efforts that affect customers' attitude. See, this the first field. Here again it is divided into two. One is divided into two. The first subfield deals with the firm's marketing environment. So in what environment or what are the environmental factors that are kept into consideration before doing this advertising campaigning and communication efforts that affect customers attitude. So whatever the advertisement that is being intended to bring about the changes, so what needs to be kept in mind, whether it can impact the attitude of the customer. So if it has a huge impact, then definitely the customer will go for the product. And communication effort that affect consumer attitude, the competitive environment, and the characteristics of the target market. See here from the uh, first subfield, that is the firm's marketing environment, what they need to keep, what they keep in mind, or what they have to keep in mind that is very important is the competitive environment. See, there are many companies offering the same kind of product. So, how my product is different from their product? See, we need to come out with some unique features or unique capabilities about my product, claiming my product to be superior over the competitor. How do I do this? How do I communicate this? Through this advertising. So that competitive uniqueness must be there. So when they are advertising for a phone, say for example, if Samsung is advertising for a phone, so they have to show what is the uniqueness about their product. So if there is a uniqueness, yes, customer will definitely see the uniqueness. He will not see what is already there. So he will see what is unique in this advertising competitive environment and characteristics of the target market. So, what is the characteristics of the target market? So, that has to be kept in mind. Subfield 2 specifies the consumer characteristics, example, experience, personality, and how he perceives the promotional idea towards the product in the stage of consumer forms his or her attitude. So, how the customer shapes his attitude is by one is experience, and of course second one is his personality and how he perceives the promotional idea. Of course, what impact it has on his mental level or psychological level. The consumer forms his or attitude towards the firm product based on the interpretation of the message. So once the message is sent, he will try to decode that information and try to give his own meaning and interpretation involving a lot of things. So now we move on to the field two, search and evaluation. See, of course, this is a very uh, common thing we as a customer do. We'll start to search for other firms' brand and evaluate the firm's uh, brand in comparison with the alternate brand. See, especially today with the internet so readily available and internet that is available, internet is so access today. So we can really see the comparison. We just have to say, for example, I have to find out the difference between the features of Samsung and Oppo phone. So if I type particular model and talk about features, so two different phones image will come, their features and everything. See, today comparison, making a comparison and knowing the information is relatively very easy. So today, especially after the internet revolution, it is very easy for us to get the information, evaluate the firm's brand in comparison with the alternate brand. So uh, this brand plays a very important role. So new brand is launching a particular product. So the customer will always make a comparison with an established brand. So what they are claiming, say for example, boat company. So Skull Candy, boat, and all these things, and we have some other companies. So they try to make a comparison between all these products in comparison with alternate brand. In this case, the firms motivates the customer to purchase his brand. Then field three, the act of purchase. So according to this uh, model, so now what happens? The field one, their advertising they talked about. Next one is search for evaluation. Next is field three, the act of purchase, the result of motivation. See, in the previous step, what happens? Once he is convinced about all these things, so uh, that serves as a motivation for him. So the result of motivation will arise by convincing the customer to purchase the firm product from a specific retailer. So especially today with online facilities we have with respect to Amazon, eBay, and all these things. So today we have very easy access to buying the product. So that is basically convincing the customer to purchase the firm product from a specific. See, Amazon they have the same day delivery, quick delivery, Amazon Pay Later. So they have various way to attract customers in their own unique ways. Next one is feedback of sales results. So this model analyzes the feedback of both the firms and the consumer after purchasing the product. So especially I'm taking the example e-commerce today with Amazon and all those things. For every purchase you make, there is a feedback mechanism which automatically comes, and if you are satisfied, you can give a rating. So all these things are possible, and reviews are posted on real-time basis. Both firms and customer after purchasing the product, because only after purchasing the product and using it, the customer will be able to give a review. The firm will benefit from its sales data as a feedback. So if the review is positive, that means it has met the expectation of the customer. If the review is not good, then the firm has to think. So why the review has come like that? See, one or two review may not matter much, but if majority of the reviews are against a particular thing, so that happens. Data as a feedback, and consumer will use this experience with the product affect the individual's attitude and predisposition. See, if the product satisfied, yes, the customer will go for repeated purchase. If the customer is not satisfied, he may not go for the repeated purchase. So that is why this consumer behavior and this marketing are very dynamic. So next we have the Howard and Seth consumer model, behavioral model. So Howard Seth model. So here we have again the previous model. So it is the inputs. See, inputs is basically the stimulus. Inputs, stimulus, or how we receive the information and all those things. So social, symbolic, and direct stimuli. So here he talks about social, symbolic, and direct stimuli. So stimuli, as I told you, which elicits particular behavior. Next, we have perpetual construction. Perpetual construction is nothing but how he sees those product through his five senses. So how he gives meaning to them in a very psychological aspect in his own unique way. So that is why we say perception varies from one individual to another individual. So perception is not the same for two individuals. Next one is learning construct. So the learning thing that happens and the output. So we'll see what this models in detail. And so this is about the Howard Sheth model. So input variables, stimuli arising from the marketing activity. So marketing activities are at the core of all the models. See, because until and unless the marketing activity is properly done and the information reaches the customer, it becomes highly difficult. So the marketing activity is at the core of these models, because if the marketing activity is not done properly, so then other process has no meaning in its own sense. So stimuli arises from marketing activities and social environment. So of course, the social environment in which we live of the consumer, including three different types of stimuli, which are significant incentive, physical characteristics and attributes about the product. See, physical characteristics. See, that is why product design is another important area in marketing. So why? Because the design of the product itself, see, when we want to buy a car, uh, what is the important thing that we look externally? See, internally, we have an analysis of different aspects. But externally, if you look, what is very important is the shape of the uh, how it looks. So the first attractive thing is how it looks. Physical characteristics and attribute of the product, such as price, quality, originality, accessibility, and brand. See, before making any purchase decision or any for going further, first as a customer, what we see is whether the physical product, whether the product is appealing. Point number one, whether the price is reasonable, whether the quality is durable, originality, accessibility. So all these things plays a very important role. So next one is symbolic incentive, verbal or visual characteristics of the product from a product perceiver by buyer customer, effect on the advertising and promotion of the message used by the seller. So of course, this is very important. Social stimuli whose source is social, customer, environmental, family, group, and society in general. See, social stimuli is basically whether the intended product or the services, whether it can socially stimulate or not. So, what does this socially stimulating means? Whether it is able to have an impact on the consumer environment, family, reference group, and all these things. So, hypothetical construct include the psychological variable influencing customer behavior during the decision making process. It is regarded by the author as abstract, not defined, and not intended directly. They are distinguished two main constructs. So, perpetual construct and learning construct. See, hypothetical means hypothesis or hypothetical means it's an assumption. See, it may when we have an hypothetical construction in mind, either it may happen or it may not happen. See, my hypothesis today is it may rain, it will definitely rain. So it may not rain also. See how I construct this hypothetical construction based on one is my previous experiences or the previous learning. And how do I tell today it's going to rain? Is because seeing the weather, the wind, the darkness in the sky, all these indicate because they are perpetual constructs. See, seeing the dark skies, the wind, the blowing wind, all these things, I assume it will rain today. So then, with the previous experience, learning experience, I try to conclude conclusion that it may rain. So hypothetical construction may come true, may not come true, but what is important is perpetual construct and learning construct, which becomes very important. So perpetual construct with respect to my five senses. So learning construct with my previous experience. So this is how we should try to understand this. So the perpetual construct describe obtaining and processing information, attention to the stimuli, sensitivity to the message, receptivity, blocking information, and filtering. See, when we talk about the perpetual construct or the perpetual activity, what is very important is attention to the stimuli. See, only if I pay attention to the stimuli, if I only observe it closely, so then I can send it for further processing and stuff like that. If I don't pay attention to the stimuli, or if I don't pay attention to the input, so then further perpetual activity is meaningless because half information or half this thing may not work. Sensitivity to the message. So how well I receive the message. So whether that message is really appealing to me. So that needs to be taken into consideration. Sensitivity to the message. Next one, receptivity. So I might be paying good attention. So whether it is been, am I able to understand that properly? Blocking information. See, every other information that I get, I may to some of them I may pay attention, to some of them I may not pay attention. So some of the information I block and leave, some of the information I take it to further processing. So again, that all depends upon our past experiences and all these things. So prejudice. So what kind of belief that I hold. So that also plays a very important role. So next one is learning construct. How buyers form attitude, opinion, and knowledge influences buying decision. So what kind of attitude is being formed? See, initially convincing a customer to buy a product is not so easy. So convincing the customer, it's not so easy. See, if convincing customers was so easy, so then marketing wouldn't be so difficult. So why it is difficult or why it is challenging is because convincing the customer itself is an art. Correct. See why? Because why do I say it is an art? Because to convince them, you need special skills to convince the customer. So the customer may not get convinced so easily. So that is actually an art. So how to convince the customer? And knowledge influence is buying decision, evaluation after the purchase, brand comprehension, etc. So next we come to the output variable. So purchase intention. attitude, brand perception, and attention. So they are noticeable effect on the internal process. For example, decision to implement the purchase, disclosure of customer view and interest, as well as the declaration of the other activity. The most important output variable from the point of view of marketing is actually purchase, because it involves carrying out the activities based on the customer preferences hierarchy of output variables. So under that, the first one is attention. Scope of information accepted after receiving exposing to the buyer to the stimulus. So whether he has received the stimulus, comprehension, amount of information actually processed, cognition, forming attitude. So all these things plays a very important role. So the next model is the Bettman information processing model. Uh, so processing capacity. So here uh, motivation, goal hierarchy, attention. So there are we have different quadrants representing different this thing. So they can be uh, clubbed under these things. So processing capacity. In this step, he assumes that the consumer has a limited capacity for processing information. Consumers are not interested in complex computation and extensive information processing. To deal with this problem, the consumers are likely to select choice strategies that make product selection an easy process. See, um, again, what is very important here is the processing capacity. See, not every customer will receive the same marketing message in the same way. So, different customer will have different understanding capacity. Different customers will have different understanding capacity. They have different personality. So all these things have to be kept in mind. So here, the extensive information to deal with this problem, consumers are likely to select choices strategies that make product selection an easy process. Uh, this is why the role of the organizations is very important. See, they have to make the advertising campaigning so easy. See, it should not be complex. It has to be made so easily that the client is able to, the customer is able to fix those things into the minds very easily. Next, here in this model, Bettman information model. So first he talks about the processing capacity. So next one is motivation. Motivation is located in the center of Bettman information processing model, which influences both the direction and intensity of consumer choice for more information. See, only if a customer is motivated, he will go for further analysis and research. So, if the customer is not motivated, so I think he will drop the message then and there itself. So, the role of the advertising or from the organizational point of view is to create that motivation. Is provided with hierarchy of goals mechanism and provides a series of different sub goals to simplify the choices of selection. So if it is made too complex, it becomes very difficult for the customer. So this mechanism suggests that the customer's own experience in specific area of market and does not need to go through some hierarchy every time he arrives at a decision. Next is attention and perpetual encoding. See, after the motivation is properly done, so next it goes for perpetual attention and perpetual encoding. So the customer, the component of this step is quite related to customer goal hierarchy. There are two types of attention. The first type is voluntary attention, which is conscious allocation of processing capacity of the current goal. The second is involuntary attention, which automatic response to disruptive events, newly acquired complex information. See here, what is very important is the attention and perpetual encoding. First type of voluntary attention, which is conscious allocation. See, the conscious attention and the second is involuntary attention. So these two things which has to be taken into consideration. Next is the information acquisition and evaluation. If the customer feels that the present information is inadequate, he will start looking for more information from the external sources. Of course, information inadequacy means then he will go for further information. Newly acquired information is evaluated and its suitability or usefulness is assessed. So whether that information is really useful is being assessed. The consumer continues to acquire additional information until all relevant information has been secured. So this is another process. Next one is memory, where he retains those information. In the component of consumer keeps all the information he collects, and it will be the first place to search when he needs to make a choice. So the memory. So again, that will be stored in their subconscious mind, in their memory. If this information is not sufficient, no doubt he will start looking again for. So the primary focus here is on the motivation. So if a customer is motivated positively, so then if he needs any further information, so definitely he will go in for more and more information. So next one is the decision process. So this step in Bettman information processing model indicates that the different types of choices are normally made associated with other factors which may occur during the decision process. Specifically, this component deals with the application of heuristics or the rule of the thumb, which are applied in the selection and evaluation of a specific brand. See, in India or in majority, we go by the majority's opinion. We go by the majority's opinion. So that is why the rule of the thumb, which are applied in the selection and evaluation. So last one is the consumption and the learning process. So in this stage, the model discusses the future result after purchasing is done. So after the post purchase, we are talking about. The customer in this step will gain experience after evaluating the alternative. So this experience provides the consumer with information to be applied to future choices and situations. So Bettman in this model emphasizes on the information processing capacity of the consumer to analyze information for decision, but no explanation was given about the criteria by which the customer accepts and refuses the process. So this is all about the different models. So we spoke about Bettman's information model, Howard shape model. We discussed about Nicosia model. So Engel, Collett, Blackwell model. So these are the important models that we discussed in the consumer behavior. So now we move on to see we discussed in the these models the psychological aspect of the consumer. So understanding the complexities of consumer behavior is essential to developing effective marketing strategies. So what why this consumer behavior is so challenging and other things we have to understand. So studying consumer behavior can help marketer in a variety of ways, most notably by helping them to understand the psychology behind how consumer thinks and reasons and ultimately select between different alternatives. See, if a customer has to choose my product, yes, why he chooses this particular brand? So why he does not choose that particular brand? So why he chooses only Samsung phone? Why he does not choose any other phone? So that is also very important. So the psychological process plays a very important role in the consumer behavior by helping them understand the psychology behind how consumer thinks and the reason, and ultimately select between different alternatives. So, what kind of alternative he has? So, why he chooses a particular product or a service. Studying psychological factors of consumer behavior can also assist marketers in understanding how consumer act while shopping and social influences. So, how the social influences impact him. The first and the arguable most important factor when considering the psychological influence on the consumer behaviorism is motivation. See, motivation is at the heart and core of the consumer behavior. See, until and unless the customer is not motivated, until and unless if there is no motive, so then talking about other things doesn't really make much sense. So now what is very important is what motivates the customer. So motivation is at the heart of the consumer behavior. Motivation is simply what drives the customer to act in a certain way. Of course, if there is a motive, then there is an action. Consumer are motivated to purchase certain product based on a desire to satisfy a certain need. Say whether if he buys a phone, he has to satisfy the need for a phone. If he buys a refrigerator, there is a need for a refrigerator. So there is a motive for food, for different goods and services. He has different needs. These needs or wants can be based off physical sensations such as hunger or thirst. See, motivation again broadly defined into the physical aspect and the psychological aspect. See, physical aspect of motivation is food, hunger, thirst, whatever this body needs physically. See, psychological motivation is totally different from the physical motivation. Say, for example, if a person is hungry, the motive is to have food. Once he has the food, the motive goes. Again, the motive comes. See, that's a different story. But here, the psychological motive is totally different than the physical motive is totally different. Hunger or thirst can be based on more psychological needs, such as desire to feel the sense of belonging. So, previously, I had been keep telling you about the motivation and motivation model. So one important model, uh, widely studied model, widely accepted model, and this model is known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Say hierarchy means at different levels, at different levels. So the Maslow's theory, it talks about the different levels of motivation of an individual. So, starting with the physiological need. Okay, physiological, we need to understand the need for the body. Correct. So, physiological need include food, shelter, clothing, other things, so which is needed for the basic survival of the human being. So here Maslow talks about the physiological. So there is a marketing for each level of hierarchy of needs. So first one is physiological needs. So the need for the body, physiological. See, psychological is different, physiological is different. So psychological is related to the mind, physiological is related to the body. So the physical needs. So in the last here at the starting, the physical needs is food, clothing, shelter, the basic needs of human being. See, safety. When we talk about safety, it is about the physical safety and also the psychological safety. Physical safety with respect to protecting the body. Psychological safety with related to the income and all other things which comes into picture. So after that, the need for love and belonging. See, of course, once your physical and safety needs is satisfied, then you go for a love needs, love or belonging needs. So that comes at the third level of hierarchical needs. So once your love and belongingness is satisfied, so then what happens? We go for esteem needs. So esteem means status symbol, like owning a car, owning a membership club. All these things come in the esteem. So esteem means a status symbol, a status symbol. So status symbol. So why people go in a Mercedes car? So why not in an ordinary car? See, again that comes into the status symbol. So esteem needs is basically done to satisfy the status needs of the employee. So once, according to Maslow's, once physiological safety, love and belonging, and the status needs is satisfied, so then the self-actualization. So self-actualization is after all the needs are satisfied. Now what I can do beyond this? See, if the physiological needs is not satisfied, then thinking about esteem and self-actualization needs is meaningless. So it is very important that we satisfy the physiological needs. So then safety need is satisfied. Then esteem needs is satisfied. Love and belongingness, esteem needs is satisfied. So then only we can climb up the ladder of the next need. The most commonly used descriptor of motivation for any human behavior is hierarchy of needs. Of course, hierarchy. Why do we say it is an hierarchy? Because only after achieving a particular thing, so next you go to the next step. So next we cannot straight away once my physiological needs is satisfied. I cannot directly go to the self-actualization needs. So this hierarchy means I have to go through the steps. That's all. I cannot bypass any step and take it directly because these are all in the human mind, the needs of the mind and the body. So if there is a contradiction between the two, so then it creates a different set of feelings altogether. Developed by an influential psychologist named Abraham Maslow. So each level needs describes a different need that people strive to fulfill. So we take the world scenario, we can see, or if I compare myself, I can just place myself at what level of need I am in. See, that is why it is very important that the motivational needs which keeps on going. So each level of need describes a different need that people strive to fulfill. The first five levels of needs are physiological. So as I told you, the first level is related to the basic needs. Uh, Safety, belonging, esteem, and self actualization. Maslow believed that the most basic need is physiological. See, without meeting the physiological needs, it is very difficult to strive for higher level needs. See, the very basis of human existence is food, clothing, shelter. See, this is the basic needs of an individual across the globe. If that need is not satisfied, so all other needs has no meaning, much meaning to it. For example, need for things essential to survive, such as food or water, must be met before any other. So that is why I said that is why this theory has been told as the need hierarchy theory. So hierarchy means it has to follow certain steps. Marketer can use the basic principle established by Maslow hierarchy of needs in order to successfully determine what needs their product aim to satisfy. So whether the see, especially this is useful for the marketers because at what level I am offering the product and services, at what level needs these product and services are being met. So all these things have to be considered. So it is very useful for the marketer to use this model to successfully determine what needs their product aims to satisfy and effectively prove to the consumer that they do in fact satisfy their needs. So that was all about the Maslow's need hierarchy theory. So next we have we discussed about a great deal about perception in our previous slides and in our previous class. So now we actually see um, what is perception and what are the different uh, types of perception and all other things. So perception also plays a vital role in consumer behavior. See, like Maslow's needs, it's a very common sense. Different levels of needs, physiological safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. So it makes a more comprehensive thing to understand that these are the needs through which the human being goes through. So now, in the same way, like motivation plays an important role. So how perception plays an important role to the market. So perception also plays a vital role in consumer behavior. So perception is way that individual selects and organizes the information. See, the customer receives information from different sources. It might be a TV, it might be a newspaper, electronic media. So that intended information must fit into the psychology of the customer and how he receives that information, how well he interprets that information, how well he understands that information is also very important. Individual selects and organizes information in order to develop their own meaning sense of the world. So perception is basically what I experience through these five senses and how I give a meaningful picture to what I see, what I hear, and all these things. So perception is a very complex process, and that is why I told you different people have different perception level and vice versa. So perception cannot be the same. So that is why this psychological concepts, these psychological concepts are very difficult to understand because this human behavior itself is a very complex phenomenon. See, if it were to be very simple to understand the human behavior, so then I think consumer behavior or psychology, all these subjects would not have evolved so greatly today. Because since human behavior is so complex to understand, so that is why we have various studies into these areas. So likewise, perception is how we organize this information and how we gives meaning to those information. So three important components of perception are selective attention. See, only when you pay attention to a stimuli or an input, so that is selective attention. See, uh, every day when we go in a road or when we are in an environment, we see many things. But do we pay attention to every single thing that we see? No. But we selectively place attention to specific things that interest us. Say, for example, a loud noise in a road may attract my attention. A bright color may attract my attention. A light color may not attract my attention. See, this is a very humanistic nature. A bright color. See, that is why all these traffic signals, signboards. So they are all have these contrast colors with a black, yellow background, alphabets written in black, or red and black, or yellow and black. So why do they use these combinations? See, why not some other color? See, it is not about the choice of the color. It is how well it can attract your attention that is very important. So attracting, so that is why selective attention. So since human mind has capacity to uh, have selective attention, so all these things have been done. See, that is why today we have huge billboards when we go in the road. We see huge advertisement hoardings. See, a small hoarding may not attract my attention, but a huge hoarding, a very big hoarding, say like 20 feet, 30 feet, definitely will attract my attention. So that is the common sense behind this. Selective retention. See, one is I pay only attention to selective things. Second one is selective retention. See, everything I see, I don't remember. But a specific event, see, I may not remember a 5 feet board, but definitely I will remember a 50 feet board. Why? Because It is easy to retain. It is big, it is huge, it is humongous. I can easily retain. And selective comprehension. See, that is why this perception comprehension means how well I am able to put out those information. See, that is why the word selective is very important. So I pay selective attention, selective retention, selective comprehension. So each of these affect the way consumer perceives information a unique way. Okay. So selective attention in an individual's ability to notice and pay attention to specific environmental stimuli, but not others. See, as I told you, a bright colored one, a contrast color. So all these things will attract the attention. So selective retention refers to the fact that the individuals cannot retain all information. See, human mind and human brain has a certain capacity to hold information. See, like uh, 5 GB pen drive can hold up to 5 GB information. If I put 50 GB information, it will not take. So likewise, human mind has also got certain capacity to hold information. So selective retention. So everything that I see. So that is why these advertisers have to make their advertisements. See, advertisements are maximum for 1 or 2 minutes. Each advertising 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes maximum. So within the 2, 3 minutes, they have to create that attention span. They have to create that retention span. So it's a very challenging task for them. They process in the sense consumer behavior. This would mean that the consumer are likely to going to forget a portion of the message advertisement as they are exposed to do. See, of course, retaining the information and forgetting the information is all a part and parcel of the human behavior or the perception. So that is why advertisements are being telecasted repeatedly. Why that repetition is being done is because uh, it it will create that retention aspect within the customer. So selective comprehension refers to uh, consumer interpreting information in a way that confirms that belief that they already hold. And this can lead to devoted sense of brand loyalty, where a consumer will purchase certain product because they believe that the brand is best. See, that is why this branding is a very important concept. See that today we identify product and services through the brand. So that is why these brands have such an important role to play. Say, for example, Samsung, Apple, mm, Reliance brand, Tata brand. See, they're all, see, that is why we say the products are created in the factory. The brands are created in the minds of the customer. I repeat, the products are created in the factory, but the brand are created in the minds of the customer. See, and again, company like Tata, see, they have been there for many years, and the brand legacy has been passed on from generation to generation. See, that is why it is very important that the brand is being created in the minds of the customer, uh, so that it imprints in their mind so well that the customer will use those information for his future purchasing. And he also has the capacity to influence his group or other members also to purchase the product by the word of mouth. So it is very important for us to mm, create that brand and other things. See, next one is the attitude and belief. See, now you understood the why motivation is important from the consumer behavior point of view. Why perception is important from the consumer behavior point of view. So now, why this attitude and beliefs are important? So attitudes and beliefs also important factor consumer. Attitudes refers to consumer outlook on a creating that positive attitude towards a particular brand. Say, for example, Apple brand means majority of the people hold an attitude that Apple is a very good company, uh, which places very important. I mean, which places importance on the quality. Again, Sony, which places emphasizes more on quality. So likewise, we have attitude based on different brands. So if I tell you a particular brand, you will say, "Oh, it's a very good brand." If I tell you a particular brand, no, it's okay brand. Why? Because you have formed attitude on those brands. So attitude are commonly influenced by social factors and beliefs. Refers to a customer view on the brands of the product. See, what kind of beliefs I have within my own psychic system, within my own psychology. The beliefs are very important. View on brand, product, or services. So this is based on actual factual knowledge of a person's opinion. See, that is why all these three things, whether it is motivation, whether it is perception, whether it is attitude and belief, see why they are so uh, important to consider is because they are all the psychological process. See, when I say psychological process is not that easy to understand. So it is very important we pay attention. See, today what happened to Nokia? See, today Nokia, once a household brand, today that brand is virtually non-existent. So why this happened? See, these are the questions because an organization has to continuously be on the mode of invention, innovation, and very importantly, they have to understand the pulse of the customer. If they fail, see, if you take your customer for granted, if you take your customer for granted, what happens is, what happened to Nokia that will happen. See, today you cannot assume that whatever I manufacture, customer will accept. No, don't be under that impression. So today it is completely customer centric. So if I fail to take care of my customer, somebody else will take care. So these are the things which are happening today. So that brand building, brand creating is all placing that brand as an emotion is also very important. Marketers should flow attention to consumer attitudes and beliefs to ensure that the customers have accurate view on the product and services. And if they don't, then the marketer would know how to focus campaigning correctly. How to make an emotional appeal is also very important. The final influence on consumer behavior is the lifestyle or how consumers tend to spend their time or money. See, when we talk about lifestyle, two things come into picture. One is how I spend my time. Second one, how I like to spend my money. Some people like to spend on recreational activities. Some people tend to spend it on different things differently. So lifestyle can include wide variety of things from activity a customer is involved and how to spend their time socially among others. See, for example, cafe coffee day. See, drinking coffee is in the culture of in India from time immemorial. But why do we need a cafe coffee day? Why do we go there? To meet our friends and to socialize. And cafe coffee day coffees are relatively higher when compared to a normal coffee shop. So why we still go there to a cafe coffee day or a McDonald's or some other place? It is not that. It is very important that we go there to socialize, meet friends, talk with them, discuss with them. spend some quality time with them, is involved in how they spend their total time socially among others. It is important to understand consumer lifestyle and the way their lifestyle influences their purchasing behavior. So that is why whether the lifestyle is a healthy lifestyle, then you go for a different. See, today I can say why I said healthy lifestyle is because so today there is a market for organic products. So now we need to question why there is a need for organic products in the market, because the other product contains pesticides. So now they say 100% organic. The product is 100% organic. Organic. See, organic market itself is growing parallelly to this. So why do we need an organic marketing today? So because people are becoming health conscious, they want to have products which are organically grown without any pesticides or chemicals like that. So again, the lifestyle is a choice. When there is a choice, there is a market. So, way lifestyle influences their purchasing behavior to know how successfully appeal to your target market. So, today you go, most of the malls, you have an organic sector and you have product which is named after that one major brand is Organic India, Tatvarasa. So many products we have today which claims that they are 100% organic. So, what kind of lifestyle we have? A fast-paced lifestyle requires a different kind of marketing approach. A slow-paced lifestyle requires a different kind of marketing approach. So the question is how to study this lifestyle of the people. Understanding why customer act the way they act and why they purchase the things they purchase. It is essential to develop a successful marketing campaign and then to appeal them the potential influence them to act in a certain way to purchase a certain product. The psychological factors to understand when considering consumer behavior are motivation, perception, attitude, beliefs, along with lifestyle. So, what are the psychological factors? So, now you may need to clearly understand that this psychological factor is a very complex, psychological process is a very complex process. Yet, it is a challenging process. Yet, it is an important process. So, what are the things that are important in the psychological process? One is perception. See, motivation we studied, the need hierarchy theory. Perception, how we see things through our five senses and how we perceive them. Attitude, the likes and dislikes, and beliefs. So, why do we hold a certain belief? That is very important. Then, lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle? So, how I use my time and money. So, lifestyle is nothing but how I use my time and money, whether I use it for uh, what kind of purpose? For recreational purpose, for productive purpose, for any other purpose. So I need to define them. Understanding these factors will assist marketer in understanding the behavior of their consumer uh, successfully appeal to. So that is why this consumer behavior is a very complex process. So now you understood because each individual is unique in his nature and its characteristics. See, why do we have a different thumb impression as taken as a unique parameter for everybody? Why retina impression is taken as a parameter for every individual? See, why this? is because if everybody were to have this matching thumbing impression to some degree or the other, so definitely thumb impression wouldn't be a unique parameter. So that is why, in the same way, we are all born with unique capabilities and capacities. So, in the same way, taking this forward, in the same way, with such a huge population, nobody's thumb impression matches with another individual. So, that is the unique set of mm, physical and psychological trait characteristics that we have. So, then we talk about behavior. Again, like the thumb impression I told, the behavioral pattern is also different. So that is why in psychology we say each individual is unique in his nature and his characteristics. So of course, the marketing, what do we say, campaigning is not a one size fits all for everybody. So it has to be a blend and judicial mix of uh, different things together. So in order to attract the customer, in order to retain the customer, in order to further research in these areas. So that is why this consumer behavior in especially in marketing is a very, 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 very complex, challenging process. So why I say complex is because it is very difficult to understand. Why I say challenging is because you cannot have a same approach to everybody. So when the approach has to be different, see, one customer is price sensitive, another customer is not price sensitive. One person is product sensitive. He is only concerned about how the product looks. Another customer may not bother about how the product looks, but he is very much concerned about the price. So another customer may be color sensitive. See, I know people. See, when people means we all see on a daily basis. People are very particular about choosing the color of whether it may be a phone or fan or anything we purchase. So again, that color is also the choice is unique for every individual. See, if I like blue, you may not like blue, you may like yellow. See, that is your uniqueness of liking. So either way, you are not wrong. I am not wrong. So, but we have unique tastes and preferences. That's all. So here, the consumer behavior in a psychological process, what we need to keep in mind is what we need to keep in mind. One is motivation, and one is perception. The way we interpret information is different. Again, in perception, we have, I told you, selective attention, retention, and comprehension. Again, attitudes, we exhibit different attitudes, either favorable or unfavorable, uh, like this. Of course, lifestyle. What we do with the time and money. So I gave you an example of organic product. So today, some customers they have a choice for organic product. So organic market is there. Ayurvedic uh, is there. So there is a separate market for Ayurvedic products, and there are many customers who want the Ayurvedic solution even in cosmetics. So that is why most of the Himalayan cosmetic products they have come out with not most Himalayan company itself is they are into Ayurveda and other things. So there is a market for the different needs of the customer, but only thing is how well we understand those needs and place those needs according to the taste and preferences of the customer is very important. So next class we'll study about the consumer learning theories. So how do they learn? So we have classical conditioning theory, operant. We have some positive, negative, some concepts like positive, negative reinforcement, and all these things. So thank you very much. So we had 2 hours of. So I thank you for your patience.